Welcome to commUNITY. It's February, and you know what that means?
It means it's Black History Month.
And we are here for you with a variety of different stories. I'm Claudine Ewing.
And I'm Pete Gallivan.
We are at the Freedom Wall in Buffalo, highlighting so many giants in African American history across the world, across the nation, and here at home.
And we stop here because, everyone knows Frederick Douglass.
Absolutely.
But what you may not know is he spoke on several occasions at the Michigan Street Baptist Church. And that's where we begin this month's edition of commUNITY, and talking about some very special letters that were sent to the Reverend Nash. Freedom is not free. Letters from World War II soldiers to Reverend Nash. That's the name of this exhibit and discussion at the Michigan Street Baptist Church.
It's none of my business, Reverend Nash, but if I were you, I would try to discourage your son's ambition to get into the armed forces.
It's a series of dozens of letters sent by young Buffalonians serving their country during World War II. Letters sent to their pastor, the Reverend Jesse Nash.
Through the letters, you really get a sense of the care and high regard that the soldiers had for Reverend Nash. And also you get a sense of who he was as a man in terms of his obligation to his community.
Lily Wiley Upshaw says that it also shows the relationship between Nash and even the youngest members of the church.
There's one letter in which he says that, I just received this letter from you and I can't rest until I respond. So I think that Reverend Nash took his role as the spiritual leader, as the community leader of this congregation, very, very seriously.
Dear Reverend Nash, well, I'm in the Army now. We have a wonderful chaplain here.
But it wasn't only the Reverend Nash who received correspondence, but Mrs. Nash as well. Each of these letters is a timepiece, a snapshot of history, and a profile of a U.S. soldier looking for a touchstone of camaraderie as he serves his country in a military that is still very much segregated.
In this letter, he's on Okinawa. The war has ended just a few months before, and he's talking to Mrs. Nash about hoping to, when he will come back to Buffalo, how he wants to gather with his fellow soldiers, other members of the church. He also shares with her and reflects on the end of war. And one of the things that he says is that unlike the movies, the end of war does not happen quickly with a shout for victory and everyone drops their arms. It's a slow, sluggish process. And some days we are celebrating, and other days we're watching as bombs are dropping from the sky.
These letters were a call for contact from those serving, but also a rallying point for those here at home.
For the whole congregation, it was really quite a point of pride in the soldiers. So their letters would be on display in the church. There was a women's group that was formed to send care packages to the soldiers. So they really wanted to make sure that in this great moment that the soldiers were loved, that they were remembered, and that people valued the sacrifices that they were making.
There have been many events across Buffalo for Black History Month. Niagara University hosted White House correspondent April Ryan during its annual celebration of Dr. King's legacy on the first day of Black History Month.
You have to remember Dr. King, if he were alive today, he would be 94 years old. You also have to remember that Dr. King moved mountains when the majority of Black America, particularly the Black church, only 4% of the Black church marched with him and walked with him and believed his ideology. Only 4%. The Reverend Jesse Jackson told me that.
At the Broadway Market,
I'm excited because Black folks are getting together, doing positive things. In spite of all the things that we have had to endure, we still stand tall.
Veterans with a message.
We need to continue to learn as much as we can about Black History Month. We need to know about our soldiers that have served. We need to know about our inventors. We need to know about the people up and down the street that are part of history.
That game when Damar Hamlin suffered a sudden cardiac arrest and he was unresponsive, the quick response of the medical staff there that rendered CPR to him at that moment kind of really sparked call to action in the community. CPR is very important. Bystander CPR will determine whether or not a person survives or lives in a sudden cardiac arrest situation. 1 in 4 people die every year of heart attacks, and most of the time it's a sudden cardiac arrest where the heart stops beating or the heart is quivering. Most incidents happen outside of the hospital, over 80%, and a person's chances of survival depends on bystander CPR.
A fly pad as shown.
African Americans in general have highest rates of heart disease, and is even higher for black women. And we have family members, friends, co-workers that if someone should suffer a sudden cardiac arrest, it's important that we know bystander CPR. If people in the community are interested in learning CPR, they could go to our website, Buffalo AED CPR Services. We do classes every month. We offer it to families. We offer it to businesses.
Between COVID, the May 14th tragedy, and the Christmas blizzard, some major inequities were exposed and highlighted within the African American community of Buffalo, especially when it comes to food insecurity and access to health care. And that's something that one organization is working hard to address, and that hard work was recently honored with a national award named in honor of Bernard Tyson, a well-known healthcare executive who fought for health equity in America.
Bernard had this real vision about really getting their company to be really active around the issues of the social determinants of health and health equity. Unfortunately, he died really at the height of his career.
Reverend George Nicholas, who is known for his work in addressing health inequities based on race, geography, and economics across Buffalo, was nominated for the award by Independent Health President and CEO Michael Kropp.
Without my knowledge, Mike nominated me for this very prestigious award, and I ended up winning. And I say that without my knowledge because, you know, it's really, the award really goes to the organization. Sure. And a lot of the people, and the people that we've been working with since about 2014. We started this African American Health Equity Task Force. And out of that, we were able to create the Buffalo Center for Health Equity.
A group that is working to make sure health care and quality of life have nothing to do with the color of your skin. We
don't believe that your ethnicity, your race should be a determining factor on your health. Here, and particularly in the African American community, that's kind of our focus, is that when you look at health outcomes, public health data, that you can get easily from the state or county, and you look at chronic disease, hypertension, diabetes, cancer, any of those chronic diseases which are treatable and so in some ways preventable, depending on a lot of different factors, right? And if you just look at the 5 or 6 zip codes where most African Americans live, the east side of Buffalo, mainly, and you look at the prevalence of chronic disease, you will see that there is a dramatic disparity between if you're an African American and you live in one of these zip codes and versus if you were white and you lived outside of that community. In some cases, there's like a 300% more prevalence for you to have those chronic diseases, right? Which will transfer into a lower quality of life and also a shorter life, right? And so in some, depending on the data sets that you look at, it could be 10 to 12 less years. So that's less time that our elders can transfer wisdom to the next generation. It's that vacant spot on the pew when the granddaughter gets walked down to be married. It's the empty chair at the college graduation, right? Where you're not able to see those multi-generational type celebrations in community because folks are gone. And so we believe that that has to change in this region. It just has to. And it can if you focus on the social determinants of health.
What drives these disparities, says the Reverend Nicholas, social determinants like education, housing stock, income, interaction with the criminal justice system, air and water quality.
So when you look at the African American community, the east side of Buffalo, you'll find the unemployment rate, income rate, educational attainment, interfacing with the criminal justice system, air and water quality, all of these factors, there's these huge disparities, right?
And Pastor Nicholas and others say the first step is identifying this reality, then working to correct it, work that's now being honored on a national stage.
I'm so humbled that the CEO of Independent Health would recognize the work of our organization and say it deserves some acknowledgement.
Dr. Lydia T. Wright, there's a school named after her, but she definitely dedicated her life to education and this community.
Yeah, and you know, we've been talking a lot about history, but coming up next on Community, we're going to be talking about the present when it comes to education and also health.
Growing up, it was rare to see doll babies that looked like me, dolls that had hair like my hair. Today, that is not the case. Kids of all colors can find dolls in all colors, shapes, and sizes, and abilities. So let's check out the Black Doll exhibit in Buffalo.
All of the dolls are from my personal collection. This exhibit is about our beauty and the evolution of dolls. It was only befitting that we start at the beginning, that we look at Addie and her journey and then bring that journey forward with all of the beautiful dolls that we have now that look a little bit more contemporary, a little bit more modern.
Meet author Connie Porter, Lackawanna native, best known for her contribution to the American Girl Collection series as the author of the Addie books.
Addie represents our ancestors, and I think that need to really feel that resilience, especially in times that are tough. She lets us know that no matter what, there's that chance to survive and to move on.
The cloth dolls, the rag dolls that are part of our exhibit are replicas of the original dolls that may have been made or were made by slaves. They were hand sewn. So this was prior to any technology or any machinery. And now we have manufacturers who are doing wonderful new and modern things, but they're doing it in ways where dolls are representative of the today woman. You can look at that doll and say, that reminds me of someone. She looks like me. She's beautiful. I want to be a judge like that doll. I want to go to a HBCU like that doll.
Representation matters. You know, we have young women in our community that are not always uplifted because of their economic status, because of the color of their skin, because of the texture of their hair. And that translates into different trials and barriers that they end up facing when it comes to embracing their identity later on in life. So if we can make sure that we are uplifting dolls at a stage in a young woman's life where she's imaginative, she's playing, and she's imagining what her life will be like, and teach her that that doll that she's playing with while she's in that imaginative and creative space is beautiful, she will see herself as beautiful.
The Michigan Street African American Heritage Corridor is celebrating Black History Month. In a unique way, Black history is being represented through art at the Nash Lofts. There's a photo exhibit featuring an Equal Justice Lynching Memorial.
These are images taken from the Equal Justice Initiative Lynching Memorial in Alabama.
There are painful truths in our history as Americans, and to heal from that means to talk about it, to be present and sit in this pain together to move forward.
Anyone who's familiar with Bryan Stevenson and the Equal Justice Initiative, I mean, it's hard not to be completely blown away by the work that's being done, as well as a reflection of just, unfortunately, an extremely bleak past.
The connection that ties the exhibit that we're showing today is Mary Talbert. Mary Talbert, for a lot of people know her name because she was an activist that lived and worked right down here on Michigan Street. Well, in 1922, she was part of the NAACP anti-lynching group, and they actually presented legislation to make lynching a federal crime. It was not until March of 2022, when Biden actually signed that into law, that lynching became a federal hate crime. 100 years that it took for that to happen. I hope that people take away from this exhibit that these images, I want them to hit home. I want them to feel the pain of what lynching did to the Black community, to understand the brutality of this, the pervasiveness of it.
There's an image over here with some individuals, a statue with their hands up. I mean, I don't think it gets any more poignant than that.
And we need to face the truth in order to move and to heal from it. And I think it's just very important for us to be able to have these open conversations. And it's not to make any of us feel like we're less Americans. Black Americans have been here from the beginning, and we love our country.
Lum Smith, a longtime Buffalo schools administrator, died suddenly in January.
My dad was all about children getting the best education, and he didn't care if you were poor. He didn't care what the situation was. He just wanted to help enrich individuals, children, and bring their level of expectancy up. And that's exactly what he did. He would take some of the poorest schools and bring them up as an administrator.
And he was a historian who loved baseball, as Pete Gallivan found out a few years ago.
Lum Smith has a lot of great memories of Offerman Stadium, which stood where the Buffalo Arts Academy is now on East Ferry. He can still see the ball sailing into the neighborhood off the bat of Bison's great Luke Easter.
That went 550 feet over the scoreboard and out onto Woodlawn Avenue.
That's not a bad hit.
No, it's not.
Have you heard about Buffalo Kitchen Club? Just think about this: delicious food, good times. Lauren Hall takes us inside.
It all started with brunch.
Me and my wife love brunch spots, so we wanted to bring our own thing to Elmwood.
And owner Sean McGee wanted Buffalo Kitchen Club to be a true reflection of their taste.
Old Hollywood meets modern. As like our breakfast at Tiffany's, our white marble floors. At the end of the day, when you drink mimosas, you want to be in a nice spot.
But this isn't a stuffy place. It's a neighborhood spot, now open at the corner of Elmwood and Bryant.
I knew Elmwood was waiting for this. I knew this part of Elmwood was waiting for something like this.
And while they built the place around brunch, from live music to a game, there's always something going on.
We are open 11/11, Wednesday through Sunday, and we have great lunch. And our dinner is unbelievable.
If you come, be sure to try the top-selling fish tacos and the famous fried lobster, and of course, a mimosa, complete with a rubber ducky.
With the decor, with our unbelievable staff, to the mouth-watering food and the live music, it's a vibe. It really is.
Coming up, a little soul for your soul.
Welcome back to Community, and you know, it wouldn't be a show without some music, right?
Exactly. We're going to look at the newer generation, those who are just a little bit younger, including a 28-year-old who graduated from Cleveland Hill High School. He's a music producer who worked with Chris Brown.
The name of the song is called Show It. I have not met Chris Brown, I will say, yet. Eventually, we will definitely cross paths.
They didn't win.
It's still a blessing to be nominated and to be a part of it. Like, this is not something that everybody gets into. So just to even be here is a super big blessing. My dad bought me studio equipment probably around age 12. And I had a studio set up in my room. Outside of the R&B world, I also write for K-pop as well. So I do K-pop stuff in South Korea. I do want to tap into the American side of pop music a lot more because I love pop. Michael Jackson, that's my #1 favorite artist ever. He was king of pop. Black music. Everything stems from us, okay? Everything stems from us. We are the culture when it comes to just music and just fashion and really anything that entertainment in general. The whole entertainment business revolves around us, and they need us to keep everything going circle. I want to inspire anybody that's ever doing music or just anything in life. Be consistent with whatever you want to do. Be positive. Be nice to people, because people, there are a lot of like negative people that you encounter. Just be nice and just live life to the fullest, because you never know when your last day is in real life.
You're going to hear music that's funky, it's rocking, and it's soulful, of course, but it's all about finding that connection.
Love me for me, love me for me, love me for me. Tell me about the music of Farrow. What would we hear if we go out to hear you all perform?
Well, we believe that music is joy is a revolutionary act. So joy is revolutionary is our thing. So we like to talk about really serious topics, but joyfully and have a good time. American history is Black history, and Black history is American history. They go together. You wouldn't have the sound of America if you didn't have enslaved people, and you also didn't have the Irish folks that were there with them. You can hear it in the roots of the music. It's a combination, yeah. But it's founded in that Black spirit and the spirit of resilience.
I always talk about music because I love it, and it does something for the soul, right? Mm-hmm. But it's hard to find good music. Not all music is good music. Would you agree?
Not all music is maybe someone's taste, mm-hmm. and not all music is well rehearsed, and not all music is necessarily well performed. And I think that there's benefits in people that are singing off tune and mm-hmm. doing their thing. I think there's still an element of community, because it's a place that we can come together. Since I was 3 or 4, harmonizing, and of course growing up in the church, that was a big aspect of learning the basics of music, and then going to Clarence High School and doing their music program. I've been always writing songs and always been a part or a member of a community of songwriters and musicians. You gotta have fun while we're doing it.
Right. Give me an example of that.
An example of that is Steal My Joy. It's a song that we released, and it says, like, you know, they may lock us up, they might not pay us, they might not give us the route that we're worth, but you know what they can't steal? They can't steal your joy.
Not only are you a local musician, but a local musician with a purpose.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah, I mean, we need a purpose. Yeah. I think that there's a lot that's going on that's it's letting people down, and that we need mutual aid networks and places that we can come together and help each other out.
Give me something.
In plenty or loss, can't touch my integrity. I'm blessed and I am sacred. By God, I know I'm holy. Can't help but celebrate all the good on you and me. You know what they can't take away? They can't steal my joy.
Love it. I love it. I love it.
You know, we've been talking a lot about Black history, but more and more we're coming to realize Black history is American history. In fact, they even had the Black national anthem at the Super Bowl this year.
Certainly did, and that's something we have to all remember. We are all one. We are all one. So thank you for celebrating Black History Month on Community. We will see you next month right here on Channel 2 and our show, Community. Bye-bye.